You are listening to the Dare to Love podcast with your hosts, Sonica Tinker and Christian Peterson, founders of LoveWorks. Hi, and welcome to this week's episode that we call Purpose in Relationship. This week's episode is a little different than normally, and you'll hear the sounds a little bit different because it is a recorded interview that Sonica and I did a while back. We were asked by the Mankind Project USA to offer our insights on purpose in relationship for their Power of Purpose Summit. The interviewer is Eric Thomas, and we are having a very powerful discussion about purpose as it pertains to relationship, our individual purpose, our mission in life, and our purpose as a relationship. So enjoy, and here goes.
Well, hello and welcome, everyone. This is Eric Thomas, Program Manager for the Power of Purpose Summit, and I am here today with two very special people, Sonica Tinker and Christian Peterson. I'm very, very happy to have them here with us for this talk on relationships and purpose. Christian, Sonica, welcome, both of you.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here with you.
I know, great pleasure.
Great to have you both. So let me tell everybody a little bit about Sonica and Christian. Sonica and Christian are a loving husband and wife team. They are relationship experts with over 35 years combined experience coaching singles and couples to dramatically improve their relationships. Sonica is a certified mediator, master in social work, master relationship coach, and the co-author of two books, The Good Divorce and Seize Your Opportunities. Christian is also a certified mediator, a certified life coach, and author of When You Love Your Woman, a soon-to-be-published book. They are the owners of LoveWorks at loveworksforyou.com, a cutting-edge relationship training company where they produce and lead transformational live relationship trainings, online courses, free weekly videos, and have a private practice in Northern California. You can find out more about LoveWorks and about Christian and Sonica at loveworksforyou.com. So once again, welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's awesome to be here.
Yeah, great to have you both. So let me start with a sort of a simple question here, since you are both relationship experts. Would you tell us, why are relationships so important?
Well, everything is relationship. You know, there isn't one place in our life where relationship is not. We're in relationship with ourselves, if we're in relationship, if we're in partnership, right? We're in relationship with our spouse, with our kids, with coworkers, extended family, friends. We're in relationship with the things and the structures that surround us. We're in relationship, some would say, with God or spirit, or you might just say the mystery of life. We're in relationship with our thoughts, right? The stories we tell ourselves. We're in relationship with our feelings, our emotions. We're in relationship with our purpose or our mission in life.
Yeah, and also, consider that, that really relationship is the fabric of life. And considering that we're talking about purpose here, think about how much you gauge whether you're on purpose in your life, whether you're living up to your mission and your purpose. You gauge that in relationship to other people. Now, certainly there's an internal component, just how we feel inside ourselves. Am I living up to my purpose? Do I feel on mission? There is that. But how I gauge that is very often, I'd say most often, in relationship to other people. Am I accomplishing whatever my purpose is in relation to the world at large, my family, my friends, my brothers, my sisters? That's how we know, is in relationship to other people. And often that's how we also know if we're not, also comes out of relationships with other people.
It's also the most important, right? It's like everybody on their deathbed, it's all about their relationship. It's all about the relationships they had and who they love. It's not about anything else. It's the most important to all of us.
Yeah. Christian, I wanted to follow up on something that you had said about how relationships are sort of the gauge for how we are living and accomplishing our individual life purpose. And a lot of times a sort of commonly held belief is that relationships require some sort of compromise between my individual sense of life purpose and the commitment in the relationship. But it sounds like you view this as a both and, as a way that how do relationships support someone's individual purpose?
Yeah, that's a great question. Relationship and purpose are really a beautiful union, or at least they can be. they're both equally essential, and they can totally empower and support one another. Like purpose provides provides a context and a container for our relationships. Our purpose or mission brings with them perspectives or vantage point that can center us. It will allow us to meet the challenges that inevitably arise in any relationship if we have a purpose. So when we're on purpose, we can use our purpose to center us inside our relationships.
Yeah, and on the other hand, the flip side of it too is that relationship, when mastered, can serve as a nourishing and empowering launching pad for the realization of our mission. You really need both. So when we have a purpose, it's like it gives context for us to deal with the stuff of life as it arises. And at the same time, if our relationship is this nourishing, incredible, empowering space, then we're freed up to realize our vision. I mean, we've had people say, when I feel loved and great at home, when my relationship is humming like a well-oiled machine, I'm a force to be reckoned with in the world. I can do anything. My self-esteem is high. I feel like I can contribute and give the best of myself, right? And conversely, right, if my relationship is a mess, we've heard, the couples that we've worked with, when their relationship is a mess, they feel so deflated and flat and inept, and that sense of self carries over and affects their capacity to realize their vision out there in life. So they really both feed on each other. When we can have a well-oiled machine, right, it feeds our purpose and our mission. And at the same time, when we're out there contributing and feeling fulfilled in life and making a difference, right, we bring back that sense of power and, worthiness and, value to our relationship as well.
Yeah, and I want to just emphasize one point here is that purpose and relationship, they are either mutually supportive, which is obviously what we're going for. We don't operate with compromise, in our own relationship with our purpose or with the couples and singles we teach. We don't teach people to do compromises. We're just going for 100% of win-win. So relationship and purpose can either empower each other or destroy each other. So, if I'm on purpose individually, I feel on purpose, on target, on mission in my life, the man I show up as in my relationship is a man on purpose, somebody who's full of energy and aliveness and passion and spark. And, I'm a great partner to be around. But if I'm not on purpose, I don't have any, if I've lost my purpose or never found it, I'm just going through the motions of life, I'm a flat, boring person to be in relationship with. I don't want to be in a relationship with someone who is flat and boring and deflated and have given up. So they will either empower each other or tear each other down.
Yeah. This really, it speaks to me to why purpose in the context of a relationship, within the relationship itself, is so important. And not just individual, but also a sense of collective, like what are we doing together?
Well, yeah, that is, we take great interest in that. And, most people tend to think about relationships as a place where we get our emotional needs met and maybe our sexual needs. It's a place for getting our needs fulfilled. And often when you start paying attention to it is when you don't feel your needs are being met. And when you think of relationship in that way, from how we think about it, that's way too small of a focus. Your relationship has a much bigger potential than just being the place where we get our emotional and practical needs met, although that is great too. It's not to say we don't want that. But, a truly powerful or full potential or co-creative relationship is in service of the world. It's in service of life, of humanity, or whatever your large purpose is. It's not just for the individuals in the relationship. It's for the world. Like, we take a much broader focus on it.
We've actually got to see this a lot with the people that we work with. We're creative beings with massive creative force. And if we don't, I just get to see this over and over again. When we don't have something bigger calling us forth, we devolve to sending that creative energy, that creative force to little piddly junk that doesn't really matter. So we get to see this all the time. We just had a couple come a couple of days ago who they're fighting about every little thing, who's doing the dishes and who's driving the kids more and who, they're fighting about all this stuff. And we would say one of the main reasons for why they're fighting about that little piddly stuff is they don't have something larger calling their creative attention and focus. What we always say is, if you're not creating something big and amazing, you're creating a mess, in the little areas.
Yeah, this particular couple was really illustrative because you could tell individually they were powerful people. They were handling, they lived a place with lots of horses and animals and kids, and they were running a $1 million startup company, powerful people. And with powerful creative force behind what they do. But because they had so entirely never developed, actually they've never developed, so that's probably more correct than to say they lost sight of, because they never were on it, a purpose that was bigger than themselves. They ended up using all their energy on, petty squabbles, basically, that sucked the life out of them.
Yeah, it's another reason why we would say purpose is really important for a relationship, because without some larger vision to call us forth, to call us to rise, to be our best self, we devolve almost to being like a me versus you, instead of a me and you for something else. Right? And so when Chris and I, for example, when we're working together for our mission, it gives us a way to unite and connect that without we could blame each other for why we're not feeling fulfilled, why we're feeling small, and we start to, each other shows up as the obstacle or the enemy rather than this incredible partner for the realization of this dream. And it really is this, when we have purpose, right, it gives us this context for how do we give out together instead of trying to get from each other, which is a very different context to live relationship from. When I'm trying to get from you, it's a much, it's a much more self-absorbed, self-focused, trying to get, which is, it's a contracting space. When we're instead focusing in on giving to each other and empowering and supporting each other to give out in the world, then there's just this whole other place available for us to go together as a couple that isn't available without it.
That's great. And I want to come back to this what's possible when you move from this place of giving to each other versus getting from each other in relationships. But I first want to come back to what can you give a couple of examples maybe of what purpose in the context of a relationship might look like? Can you tell us what the purpose of your two relationships is, for example?
Yeah, we'll give you some examples of what ours are, and I also want to say before I give you some examples here that the purpose that we have both individually and as a couple in the world, that is a very dynamic and moving document, you could say. We write this down and recommend everybody else to do that as well and speak it out loud. And we have many versions of it because it's totally a working document because we grow as we just grow as we grow. And so does our purpose. So here's an example of a written purpose we have. We're committed to creating a relationship revolution, a love movement where people are inspired to see, reinforce, empower, and support their own and each other's full potential expression. Our own lives are an inspiration for couples and singles to create harmonious, synergistic, passionate, loving relationships that free us up to enjoy life, follow inspiration, achieve their life purpose, and positively contribute to the expansion and thriving of our world.
So that's
beautiful.
You could say is kind of our relationship and, fuels our work mission and our our work purpose, you could say. And then we also have, kind of you could say more specific to our relationship as well, like, different promises we have for how to move with each other. And I'll tell you what is so great about having this for Kristen and I just get to see this for other couples as well who have this kind of a purpose declared for how they're going to move. Is there's been many times in life when, we've kind of bumped up against our challenges. And because we have this broader vision, I'm like, you know what? I'm committed to working this through for all of the people we work with. Somebody once said, we'll do things sometimes for other people that we won't do for ourselves. Like I will exercise to be a good role model for other people, right? In a way that I might not do for myself. I'm inspired to work through some way, like how we're going to deal with this conflict we have in our relationship as a, to have it be a beacon of, empowerment and support for other people. So, we kind of say, we're the primary lab rats, for empowering and supporting other people. And the vision really creates this context so that when we're dealing with the stuff of life, we're not doing it just inside our little Sonica and Christian, world, but we're, it's part of a greater purpose or a greater context.
Yeah, you kind of think, to make it practical, you can think of a simple everyday example anybody can relate to. Let's say we're disagreeing about how to spend money, for example, and money is a contentious portion of our relationship. Maybe I always want to save him and she always want to spend them. That's not necessarily the case in our relationship, but it's a good typical example. If you look at a money challenge, like if you see it inside of our larger vision of or larger purpose of being an inspiring model for everybody else, of being a beacon of hope, of being someone who supports the other person to live their full potential. Now we have the money challenges. Okay, great. Now the question for us becomes, how do we use that challenge that we are faced with here to support that? To realize our full potential, to express our full potential, to be a beacon of hope for others. If we don't have a vision like that or a purpose like that, then the money challenge is just a money challenge, period. Now it just sucks that you want to spend money and I don't, or that we just don't have enough money and, darn it, I wish we just had more money. It becomes a very narrow-minded problem. And we tend to get caught up in much too small of minutia in our efforts to try to solve this. And when we try to solve it as an isolated problem, often what we see happens is that couples simply just dig themselves more into the ground, because it's kind of like, here, this is my analogy. We're walking down the road hand in hand, or it could be yourself too, but in this case, we're talking a partnership. We're walking down the road of life hand in hand. When we don't have a larger purpose, we're only looking down at right where our feet are putting themselves. We're looking down at the gravel on the road. When you have a larger purpose, you're looking up and ahead. You always have the sight of whatever is on the horizon, your mountain or your tree or your forest or just the sunset out there. And the rocks in the gravel on the road all of a sudden aren't all that important.
I like that, how the small bumps and details on the road of life become just not important when we have that larger sense of perspective.
Yeah,
we've got that grander vision operating.
And even when they're there, cool, we step around them, we find a way to move around them. They don't stop us and slow us down much.
So I wonder, if having this grand vision that seems to make life so much easier is so important, why are more people and more couples especially not doing this? What's in the way for them?
Well, a couple of things. One, when we first get into relationship, right, almost nobody gets into relationship on purpose, right? We kind of drift into falling in love with somebody and everything kind of happens automatically in the beginning. And most people, and truthfully, we do this in a lot of areas in life, we don't consciously design on purpose how we want to move, right? My favorite way of describing it is we drift. And, drifting through life isn't very satisfying. And the same is true for a relationship. Most of us sort of expect to fall in love and drift into happily ever after. And it doesn't work that way, right? It takes conscious focus and design and to craft a relationship. And so, Christian and I, when we first got together, we crafted our relationship. Like, we very much were, what kind of relationship do we want to design? What do we want to, how do we want to declare that we're going to move? Who are we going to be here? What kind of agreements do we want to set up for, or intentions for how we're going to move with each other? What we can count on for, with each other. And, most people don't go in with that because it feels so good at the beginning. They think that will last, and they don't need it. But as the hormones, the chemical cocktail in the beginning of a relationship wears off, and old patterns and triggers begin to surface, it is so essential for us to have a guiding post for being able to support us to navigate through the relationship waters. So, we would always say, and it's one of the first things when people work with us, we always say, write out your vision. It's one of the first things that we recommend you do. Write out your relationship vision, your relationship purpose. Who are you going to be? What are your agreements? It's kind of like we're also, we help officiate weddings, and, we help people write their vows when they go into the wedding ceremony. And really, I think the original intention of vows was to declare ahead of time, this is how I'm going to move with you. This is what you can count on from me. And to be able to flesh that out. I once heard that the purpose of honeymoons was originally designed to have people go off and actually engage in that practice of developing together their vision of what they wanted to create going forward. And it's such an essential practice that has kind of gotten lost over the eons, and really is important to put back into place.
Thank you so much for that, Sonika. That's really great. I wonder if maybe you can give us a couple of practical tips on how to do that, on how to practically live purpose in your relationships.
Yeah, we most certainly can. Here, and if for those of you listening, you might want to take notes here in the next little bit, because we'll give you a couple of good suggestions here in bullets. So the first one we'll say is, for yourself, write out your individual purpose. What is your purpose in life? You've gotten great material from the Purpose Summit here for that, for that purpose, no pun intended. Write out your own vision or purpose. Who do you want to be? What are you going to do? What kind of person are you in this world? And how you can use that is like your guidepost or your North Star or a centering device.
Here, I'll give you an example. So this is one that I wrote for myself, and I read it often, and it really does remind me of who I strive to be, who I declare myself to be, and reconnects me, especially at times when, we all have those gremlin voices that kind of come in and want to take us out and down. And whenever those arise, it's kind of a way to refocus me back on what I'm committed to creating in my life, who I'm committed to being. So this is what actually it's a couple of pages. I'm not going to read the whole thing, so I'm just going to read a couple of paragraphs here, so people can get a sense of what it is to declare yourself and to write up some individual vision or mission for yourself. I am a wise, wealthy, joyous, loving, passionate, powerfully guided leader who models what is possible through awakened presence, radical, authentic, full self-expression, focused desire, and inspired action. I am a transformational coach and course leader. I notice the limiting stories people live in and see through to the ineffective beliefs and practices that keep people stuck in situations they say they don't want. I dare to speak the truth, fiercely and compassionately, calling people to look at, take responsibility for, be grateful for, and drop all resistance to current manifestations. I gently encourage people to tell hard truths about what is and about what is wanted, to drop down and listen to the whispers of their own heart, and to presence-inspired desires and dreams. I remind people who they really are and connect them to their infinite power. I offer empowering interpretations, practical tools, and new possibilities for action, thinking, and being that enable people to break free of unwanted experiences and on to consciously and deliberately manifesting their heartfelt desires and dreams. I insist on rising to my fullest potential as a gift to others, to inspire others to rise above doubt, fear, limiting beliefs, and despair, and to instill hope, possibility, and action by my example. So that's just a piece of what I wrote that, just when I read it, I'm like, whoa, it's kind of, it has me access the best of myself. And that really is the power and possibility of writing up a vision like that for yourself, or your purpose, your mission, so that in the face of reading it, bam, you're back. The
wow, yeah, thank you.
Is the importance of speaking it out loud. It's different to read it than it is to speak it out loud. There really is something that, helps focus all of that creative force when everything is lined up with speaking it.
Yeah, I know from my own experience, I have done some of that sort of self-defining declaration work, and there is something especially powerful about reading it out loud and really claiming that sense of myself and who I am and what I'm a stand for. And I also really see, Sonika, in yours, how what you wrote down and what you said plays so beautifully into what you and Christian described as your purpose together. I think it's beautiful how it dovetails into that.
Oh yeah, you're going for having them be mutually supportive.
Mm-hmm.
And the second we'll add to this is, the first one was write up your individual one, like Sonika gave an example of, and the second one is, not surprisingly, write up your relationship purpose, your together vision or together purpose. Who are you as a couple in life? What do you want to do here? Who do you want to be with each other? We already gave you, one little example of a couple of paragraphs of ours, and some of the bullets. I'll give you a couple of bullet examples here of what are also, you could say, supporting bullets for our vision or purpose as a couple. One is to empower and support each other's full potential in all aspects of life. Another one is to make good use of everything that shows up in life to feed the highest version of ourselves. That means any and all challenges, any and all people that show up, any and all everything. We use everything for that same purpose. Another one is just to have fun, enjoy life. Another one is to live in appreciation and gratitude for everything we have. Yet another one is to be a yes to sex. Next one is to take 100% responsibility and be responsible for my own happiness. I give up the right to blame you for anything. And the last one we have here as an example is to be in alignment before we make big decisions or spend money, for example. We don't do that until we're on the same page about it.
So you can kind of get from this that you can have kind of an in general purpose, like, we're committed to creating a relationship revolution, a love movement. There's kind of this broader mission, and then there are the specific aspects that are going to allow us to actually deliver on that vision. Like, we're going to use everything that shows up in support of our mission, in support of us realizing the best of ourselves and making a difference in the world. So the specific, those bullet points that Christian just listed, you can see how they're supporting us to actually fulfill on our joint mission.
Gotcha. That's beautiful.
I'll give a third one for the practicality of this. How do you actually live this stuff and do this stuff? And this one is really great to use for for specific events, or say you're going to a wedding, or you could use this in your business for that matter too. Say you have a big meeting coming up or a big presentation, but just sticking with relationships for the next whatever event. So we call this to create a purpose and results design. So you design your purpose and the results you want to accomplish in any given setting, say next weekend's family visit, like that specifically. We design it up front. And I'll give you a couple of great examples of people who've used this. There was one man I was coaching who was always, whenever he would go to family gatherings, his experience was that he would end up sitting in a corner, on the last bar stool on the bar, hoping somebody would maybe come up and talk to him, but nobody really did. And he just ended up feeling so deflated and powerless and awkward, and he just couldn't wait to get the heck out of there. That was always his experience for years and years. So I walked him through how to do a purpose and results design, and he did that the week before he was to go to a big, in this case it was a big family wedding that was, one of those big parties that would have hundreds of people and last for a whole weekend. And once doing this, when he came home and told the story of what had transpired, it was so inspiring. This man that had gone in all deflated, come out all shining and on fire, and his experience had been according to his purpose and design, that he had connected meaningfully with lots of his family members. He had been one of the people taking an initiative for a whole group of them to go out and, I can't remember what it was, to go out on a boat and have a great time. He had gotten to know nephews and nieces and uncles at a way more intimate level, because that was part of his design. I want to have meaningful conversations and connections with people I haven't connected with yet. And the best part of it for him was, he had zero attention on his awkwardness or his self-consciousness, at all. There was none of that, because he was on purpose. And this is another great way you can tell if you're not on purpose, is if you're really self-conscious. You feel awkward in situation, either with your mate, or you're out dating, or anybody. That's one of the clues that you might not be on purpose, when you feel self-absorbed and self-conscious. And I'll give you another short example here. Is we had a couple who came for pretty much the same reason. They were going on a family vacation, and they kind of dreaded it. They'd been married for many years, and it was just them, no kids. And they kind of dreaded going on vacation, because they had in the past experiences of it, their vacations devolving to arguing about, should we see that thing or that thing? Should we go left or right? Should we have dinner at this restaurant or that restaurant? And after going through the same process that is applied to the very specific target of our 1 week vacation, I can't remember how long it was, but let's say it was a 1 week vacation. They just came home having had a marvelous time. No focus on the squabbles of should we go left or right, but having lived into the purpose they themselves had designed of having, great sex along the way, having had intimate connections along the way, having had fun with each other, having had the experience of really relaxing and resting and, feeling ready to come back to the world and taking that on. So a couple of practical examples there.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you both for those, and hopefully our listeners were able to take a couple notes. And if they're interested in getting more, they can connect with both of you.
Yeah, sure.
So
I'll just
go ahead,
add one more thing, which is that it's such a, it's kind of like you have your broader purpose, and then you have smaller purposes inside of that. So Christian and I will do this when we just get together with friends. What's our purpose for this visit? What is it we want to create for this visit? We do the same thing every time we lead an event. We did it for this, right? What's our purpose and intended result for this particular outcome, for this call, for this workshop that we're leading? so that we go into as much as we can, every experience in life with some intention for what it is we want to create, because we know that drifting is not as satisfying as going in deliberately creating what experience we want to call, what it is we want to call forth. We do it on our vacations, right? As he already talked about, it is such a powerful it provides a powerful focal point to decide ahead of time what do we want to create, especially in triggering situations, as Christian was saying. If you hate your family events and it's the same old, same old stuff, right? To kind of decide ahead of time, well, how am I going to have this relationship with my mom go? What kind of conversations would I like to have that would be meaningful to me, that might steer her in a direction I'd like to go in, instead of, having the same old fight all the time about how I didn't do whatever. It's just a great way to add more meaning and connection in life. And I'll share one more story, which was really impactful for us as well. And so several years ago, we went through an experience where we made a bad investment and we lost, almost $200,000. And that was at when the real estate market crashed, and it was just a mess. And we could watch ourselves devolve to feeling completely panicked and freaked out about this whole financial situation and what were we going to do about it. And so we employed the same exact set of practices here that we're sharing with your listeners, with the listeners here on this call, is we wrote up a declaration to help us not go to panic. Because we knew that if we were in panic and fear, we were going to be much less resourceful, much less successful, and nothing was going to happen from that particular state of mind. So we wrote up this declaration, and whenever either of us would start to get into this mood of despair and depression and immobility, we would pull out this sheet and we would read it out loud to each other. And sometimes we read it 5 times. Like, sometimes it took that long for us to get back to feeling, centered and good. And it was such a powerful tool for us that really got us through that dark period in our lives, kept us from blaming each other and, kind of getting immobilized and, into this place of, going down. And we just declared, what, we're not going down. We're going to be a beacon of hope for other people by using this situation to call forth the best of ourselves. And I remember in this thing that we wrote, actually here I'll read a little piece of it, because it was such a powerful tool to help us get through that really rough time period.
Yeah, I would say to help us stay on purpose.
So what we wrote was, we are resolute in our decision to bring more peace, connection, and harmony to the lives of others, to make a substantial, loving mark on the world through our contagious work efforts. We act consistent with this commitment daily, disregarding of our changing moods, thoughts, and feelings. We proactively maintain a positive attitude and optimistic outlook by choosing beliefs and actions consistent with our vision of being wealthy, joyous, loving, generous, impactful, inspirational leaders. We commit to daily line up with our desires to take expansive risks and massive action, to increasingly step into our full potential, to set and meet high goals, ask angels for support, and give thanks all the while for our many blessings. Who are we to think that we are not enough? Who are we to doubt Spirit's magnificent capacity to create through us? We daily express our gratitude for all we have, and we commit ourselves to rise to our fullest potential as a gift to others. We act from the faith that all is well and that everything we want is on its way to us. We would just read that over and over until we were kind of back to like, okay, it's all going to turn out. We're going to use this. What can we do now? What action can we take now?
Yeah, I really feel the force, the power behind that when you read it, and how powerful that would be to reorient to.
Yeah, that's exactly
what a great guiding post to come back to.
Yeah.
And I really get this from what you've said about how purpose can be the foundation for moving into all these little microcosms, all these little micro challenges that you described, whether it's, going away for the weekend and what do we want to create here, and using this grander purpose vision or purpose statement to as the foundation for creating that, to use that as the pool to draw from, or to use it in something bigger like a large scale financial challenge, and that both can use this vision, this purpose, to help guide you through how you're going to navigate that together.
Yeah. And, maybe I can just insert a comment to one of your previous questions. Remember how you asked that, if this is so great and important, why don't people do this more? And, one of the reasons is that, people will think or say, that sounds like a lot of work. And yeah, as far as I can see, most of us are, human beings are kind of lazy in that we don't like to do anything that with more effort that can be done with less effort. And I am no different than that. If there are two ways to do a task and they both accomplish the goal, I'll pick the easier one anytime. So that's one of the reasons people don't do it. And I used to never do this in my, first 30 years of my life. And I really got to see that even though it does take some upfront effort, to, for example, take the time, it does take some of your time to sit down and design and plan and purpose your weekend event, or to craft a document like Sonica was just reading for. It does take some time. But the amount of time that it saves on the back end is 1,000-fold. I mean, it really is. It has saved me and us and everybody who employs it countless hours and weeks of years of just feeling bad and unproductive and not on purpose. And so I've totally come to the conclusion that even though it appears to, that takes some work up front, in the end, this is the option that requires much less work.
Mm. So there's a question there too, is when people are in conflict, or they're disagreeing about something, and they've lost sight of that sense of purpose, what can they do? What can they do to get back on track?
Well, first thing, as we've already mentioned, is hopefully you've written out your vision and your purpose, and go do what we just said we did, right? Read it out loud. Get reconnected. Do something that reconnects you with who you are. So read that out loud. Go meditate. We do sometimes what we call a full potential visualization, where we reconnect with a full potential vision of ourselves. You gotta, first thing is line yourself back up with who you are and what you are about. Reconnect with, in sales they always say, right, reconnect with your why, right, your purpose. First thing.
And here, and I want to say this is another great place for all the listeners to take notes, because we'll give you a couple of specific bulleted examples here of, what you can do in this situation when you're not agreeing about something, for example. So that was the first one Sonica just said. The second one is connect yourself back with, or if you don't have any, you want to make some up, beliefs or stories about yourself that are uplifting and positive, that feel good, that produce good results when you think about them. So some of Sonica's and our favorites is, for example, we believe that things are going to work out for us. We're going to get what we want in the end. And that's really soothing and peacemaking, to make ourselves aware of that when we're in disagreement about something.
Yeah, the other thing I'll say about that too is it's where people go. So when people are fighting in relationships, there's a pervasive belief in the background that I'm not going to get what I want.
or gonna have to fight you to get what I want.
If I think I'm not going to get what I want, all of my attention is on where I'm not going to get it, which is creative energy lost. If we believe that we're going to get what we want, all of a sudden our attention is now on solutions and possibilities, on openings. We see, we see creative options that wouldn't show up otherwise. So it's an important belief to hold, especially in challenging times when it looks like, what we want isn't like right there already, is to really stand in, well, it's all going to come. If we really believed everything was coming, what might we do right now? If we knew everything we wanted was on its way, what opening could we take right now? What action could we take right now?
Yeah, another good thing Sonic and I tell each other is that everything that happens in our relationship is for a good purpose. It's actually everything that shows up for the purpose of us getting stronger, more in our full potential. It's showing up with a good intention. Everything that shows up has at its root a good intention. Oh, great, let's look for the good intention. I already feel, we're already less inclined to bigger at each other about the dishes, the sex, the money, whatever the topic is. Another good one I'll mention is I reconnect myself to the knowledge or the belief that I have is that you, my partner, I know you're trying to get something good for yourself. I know that in your heart you want good things, even if how you're expressing it right now is through anger or you're yelling or you're not talking to me at all. I know you're not a person who wants bad stuff for yourself. I know you don't want bad stuff for me, really. Cool. I remind myself you want good things. You're a good person. Just that in itself totally soothes the situation and opens up a space for, we can actually look for solutions that might work here.
Yeah, a third one is to stay in there and come up with win-wins. So we can't say how important that is. And I want to actually say a little bit here about how we move with conflict in our relationship and how it dovetails here with this conversation about purpose. Christian and I really believe that if I want something and he wants the opposite, that everything that's showing up in the relationship, as he just said, right, is showing up for us. Well, we would take it even deeper, which is that if I am saying I want something and he's saying he wants something else, some part of me also is his side. So here, we'll give a concrete example here just so it'll make a little more sense. So there was one point in our relationship and work life here where we were wanting to redo our website and improve our website. And Christian came across this company that was going to charge $10,000 to completely revamp our website. Well, I also want to revamp our website, but I don't want to spend $10,000 for it. I want to figure out a way to get it cheaper. So here we are, right? It looks like he wants to move ahead with this company. I don't. Conflict. Well, when we drop down here with this idea, so some part of me also really wants a high-quality company to help us, right? I don't want to waste money on somebody who isn't going to do a great job. So I am just like Christian in that I want a great quality website. Some part of him also doesn't want to spend $10,000. That's what we would say, is that if I don't want to spend $10,000, some part of us in the relationship doesn't want to spend $10,000. If I don't want to go with this company, some part of both of us doesn't want to go with this company. What's great about looking at it from that point of view is we really believe if we stay with that and honor what is showing up in the other person as though we're also showing up in us, and that it's showing up for us, then there's a better solution out there that is going to take care of what we both want to create. And that's exactly what happened in this instance. As we began to explore other possibilities, we came up with a solution that was way better than anything we would have thought of on our own had we started fighting with each other. right? As if he had started trying to convince me why we should go with this company, or I should try to convince him why we shouldn't. Is instead when we kind of expanded to include both of our differing points of view as both valid and important and both representing the higher good, you could say, a solution showed up that was way better. It cost a lot less money. We got way more quality service, and we were able to fulfill on this desire to shift our website in a way that honored both of our different points of view. What we see a lot happens for couples in relationship is when you move like it's you versus me, then we start to get sidetracked and all of this creative force gets lost in fighting against each other. And these highly advanced solutions that are waiting out there can't show up in that space. So we really think it's very important to honor both sides. Like if it's being expressed, it wants to be expressed for the relationship. And so when we can listen to it like that, then we can use it as a guiding point to support us to find the openings and the solutions that are, like I said, way better than anything that's currently, in our presence at the moment.
That's great.
Go
ahead.
Yeah.
I just wanted to sort of tug on this thread a little bit more and ask you guys, what do you think really is at a deeper level possible when you move from this place you're describing, from when you transition from getting what I need versus to giving to each other? To recognizing what's showing up in the other is also showing up in me and in us and for us. What's possible when you move from the place of purpose in a relationship?
Yeah, wow. That's an exciting question. And well, actually, before we dive into that question, I just want to make one remark more about what we just came from, what it takes to do the suggestions that we just talked about, to stay in there long enough to come up with a win-win, for example, or to really figure out why is this showing up for us in the relationship, or how do we craft a vision? All those who were that were answers to your question about, well, what do we do when we are in breakdown? What do we do when we've lost sight of it? What do we do when we disagree? And I just want to acknowledge that it takes some skill to pull that off. It totally does. It's most people aren't gifted with that ability just by having been in relationships since they were 16 years old. Like I certainly wasn't, and Sonica probably wasn't either. And it just takes some skill and practice to do that, which is why there are people like us.
So in answer to what is possible, so I'm reminded of like two pictures here that I'll present as a way to start. Is a lot of times in relationship when we're focused on just getting our needs met and it's all on getting without some higher purpose or vision, I'm reminded of the story that they tell when you put, two crabs in a net. They'll keep each other there by continuing to pull each other back down. So whenever one crab starts to crawl out, the other one will pull it down to try to get out, and they keep each other there. And really the analogy I have, or the picture I have for what's possible when we're working in concert here with our individual relationship purpose, all empowering and supporting each other, is more like, when you're rollerblading or you're running and the one person kind of pulls the other person from the back ahead, and then they take off and they pull you ahead, and then they take off and they pull you ahead, and there's kind of this ricocheting, pulling each other along and gaining momentum as you do that. And there really is a kind of synergy available, access to more options, more creativity, more energy. Synergy is really where the whole is greater than the sum of the parts, where there's more energy coming out of the system than going in. It's the energy that's available when we take the brakes off and the barriers are gone and the needs for defenses drop away, where we're just like, catapulting forward. And it just gives so much. Christian and I have so much fuel and energy in our relationship from living from this place. And everything moves fluidly and easily. We've got each other's back. It's like I want to support him, he wants to support me. There's this attention on how do we help each other get to that place.
Yeah, and what is possible, I wanted to also add that how anything is possible. Whatever it is your purpose and your dream in this world is possible. And I get that there are as many versions of that as there are human beings on this planet. For some people it's to rule the world and make a whatever relationship revolution in the world, and for some people it's to invent the next widget, and for some people it's to be the best mom or dad possible. It really doesn't matter, but when you operate in your relationship and purpose like this, you have each other's back and you pull each other up, oh man, anything is possible. And on a day-to-day level, what's so great about it is that it's possible to spend almost no time whatsoever feeling bad, being disconnected, arguing, bickering, not talking to each other. You can get to a place where you spend between 95 and 100% of your time feeling great, being on purpose. And it just means that your 100% of your energy and your God-given talents and faculties and your self-mastered skills are available to you to accomplish whatever it is you desire. And the flip side that all of us have certainly tried at some point in our lives is that when a lot of my attention goes to arguing with my partner or thinking about how I'm not getting all the intimacy I want or wondering about how to fix this or that energy is not available to then go create what it is I came to this world to do, which is what really has me feel energized and powerful, and is when I'm on purpose. I'm doing what I'm here for.
And it really is the stuff that keeps relationship vibrant. Everybody's always looking at, well, how do we keep love alive? We haven't found anything better. It's having this shared vision and being, rooting for each other and rooting for other people that infuses our relationship with love and connection and giving and sex and passion and aliveness, power. It is what keeps us in love. It really does. Keeps us in love with each other, with ourselves, with life, and we get to spread that love to everybody we come in contact with, including you and all the people listening here on this.
Well, thank you so much for that, and I'm sure our listeners appreciate it as well. Any closing thoughts? For all of us.
I want to finish with a little story that really serves to illustrate how relationship plays into your purpose. So I don't know if you all know the now deceased personal growth. He was like a personal growth guru. His name was Zig Ziglar. He's one of the first people who really got, who started spreading personal growth and think positive and use your mind to affect your reality. Many, many decades ago, he was one of the pioneers in that, and he created a big, vast empire actually of teaching and tapes and books, and served millions of people, sold millions of books and tapes. And every time people would ask him, how is it that you so gracefully, he was known for having a very graceful and composed demeanor, how is it that you keep yourself so composed and calm with all the challenges that you face in having employees and travels and, all the challenges of life? How did you do that with such calm and composure? He would always say his first answer he had several answers. His first one would always be, because no matter where I went, I had the home court advantage. And what he meant with the home court advantage was his relationship. In his case, it was his many years of marriage to his wife. That was his home court advantage. Their relationship, which they deliberately, with their desires and purposes and designs, they kept it alive and fresh and strong. That was his home court advantage. So he felt that on that platform, with that, standing on that platform of love and support and relationship, he could do anything. He could go out and handle anything. And that, a fun little addition to this story is that we got to see Zig Ziglar at this big business seminar a few years before he died. He died in his late 80s, I believe. A few years before he died, we were at this big seminar in a big arena somewhere with 20,000 people or something, and he couldn't actually speak for himself really anymore because he had lost a bunch of his memory and he couldn't really teach anymore. But he was still a presence to be reckoned with. But his daughter was speaking for him, so when questions got asked from the audience or during the presentation, it was his daughter that would speak. And the only thing, however, that he did remember, that he kept repeating over and over and over again in the microphone was, "I always had the home court advantage," he'd say in his old voice. "I always had the home court advantage." You could just tell that was the thing that stuck with him here at the end of his life. I always had the home court advantage. And with the home court advantage, I fulfilled the purpose I had for myself in this life many times over.
Beautiful. I love that story. So
thank you so much, Christian.
Really, that's the best closing thought is, it's just essential that we presence our purpose in relationship and we master relationships so it can be a launching pad for us to go out and realize our vision, and we can take this incredible creative force that we are and put it to good use and enjoy making a difference for other people and loving and living and laughing as much as we dare.
Excellent. Wonderful, wonderful. Well, thank you so much to both of you, Christian and Sonika, for being here with us today. It's been a pleasure to talk with you. Thank you so much for having us.
Very fun to get to share all of this with you.
I know. It's our pleasure and honor. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you guys. And thank you everyone for listening in. And this is it. We'll sign off now.
You have been listening to the Dare to Love podcast with your hosts, Sonika Tinker and Christian Peterson, founders of LoveWorks. And hey, if you found this podcast to be useful, would you go ahead and hit the share button and share this with your friends on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or wherever your favorite hangouts are. Thanks so much for sharing the love. And you can find more about our work at loveworksforyou.com. Thank you.